Imagery. Imagery is the use of vivid, vibrant descriptions to evoke a certain response from a reader. A poet will use vivid, vibrant descriptions because he or she wants the reader of a poem to react in a certain way. How does a poet create imagery? By means of similes, metaphors, personification, and onomatopoeia. Similes are comparisons that are made between two things using like and as. For example, loneliness came like an unwelcome guest in November. In this case, loneliness is compared to a person who came or who arrived. A metaphor is also a comparison, but it does not use like or as. Rather, a metaphor suggests that something is something else. For example, she is the garden where we last talked. Someone or something is compared to a garden. Personification means talking about something that is not human as if it is human. For example, loneliness came. Loneliness is spoken about as if it's a person who arrived. Onomatopoeia is the use of sound words that mimic the exact sound that an object makes. For example, the tick-tock of a clock. There are different types of imagery. Tactile imagery, which appeals to the sense of touch. Gustatory imagery, which appeals to the sense of taste. Auditory imagery, which appeals to the sense of sound. Kinesthetic imagery, which appeals to the sense of motions or movement. Olfactory imagery, which appeals to the sense of smell. Organic imagery, which appeals to the emotions. Visual imagery, which appeals to the sense of sight. Let us read the poem Silent Cry. An audio-visual version of this poem can be found at the link cited. Here you'll be able to enjoy all the imagery even as you read the text of the poem and live the emotions along with the poet. Loneliness came like an unwelcome guest in November, stabbing at sorrow's glowing coals, setting fire to each smoldering ember, pitch intent within the walls of my soul, penetrating every crevice, every nook and cranny, ravaging my bones, clawing at the last layer of sanity, eclipsing pose never known before, stretching me, forcing me to grow, excruciatingly, gut-wrenchingly, heart-breakingly, in paths I never knew I could go. She nags, she haunts, anchoring me to her own. She is in the phone that no longer rings. She is on the paths where once our feet walked. She is in the music that tugs at my heartstrings. She is the garden where last we talked. Her clouds obliterate the stars. Days are colder, a cold few places know, a cold never heard before, and silence that hears its own echo. I try to run, to hide from her, behind walls of pretense, of daydream and reminiscence. Soaking in the memory of our laughter, the sound of your voice in my head, walls she rips in savage fury as she wraps her talons like a cloak around my hall. I cannot outrun her. I scarce can escape her. She is here to stay, and only you can send her away. So come back, please, for a moment, a day. Come back as a dream, a shadow, a hue. Come back for a while, that I may see you. Imagery is important in poetry because it gives life to a poem. Ideas and messages come alive, characters come alive as a result of the use of imagery because it adds intensity and beauty to it. At the same time, it clarifies abstract ideas and therefore it evokes a response from the reader. The reader can feel sorry for the subject of the poem, feel angry towards. It evokes different kinds of responses, just as the poet would intend. So that's it about imagery in poetry. I hope you enjoyed your lesson. Please don't forget to click on the link given to be able to enjoy an audiovisual version of the poem that we read, Silent Cry by Lauri Bruna. And as you do, also please click, like, and subscribe. Thank you.